So many companies, especially the companies that market long-term storage food to the prepping community, are feeding you misinformation. Misinformation that could lead to your death after SHTF. And today you're going to learn what that is and how you can ensure that your family remains fed during a grid down scenario, right after the channel intro.
Shots fired! Shots fired! Shots fired! Ambulance en route.
So I see this all the time, especially with long-term storage foods that are marketed to the prepping community. And while the first part of this video is going to deal with companies that sell mainly freeze-dried foods, this video is also going to be extremely relevant to those preppers that bag and bucket their own beans and rice and dried corn and dried oats, etc. So stick with me. But many of these companies that sell freeze-dried foods, they will tout how their can of food or how their bucket of food will have 10 or 20 servings in that can or that bucket, which leads a lot of people to believe that they will get 10 or 20 meals out of that container. In essence, if a person sees that a number 10 can of freeze-dried food has 10 servings in that, then a lot of people will believe that they will get a little bit over 3 days worth of meals out of that one number 10 can. For example, here is a can of Mountain House Pasta Primavera, and it says that it has 11 servings in it, which can make many people think that they'll get almost 11 meals out of this one can, or that this one can of food can feed them for almost 4 days. But if you look closer, there is only 170 calories per serving, meaning that you would only get about 1,870 calories out of this whole can, meaning that you wouldn't even get 1 full day's worth of calories out of this can, let alone the almost 4 days. I mean, if you were to go off this and actually eat 1 serving per meal and you're eating three meals per day, I don't think you would even get 500 calories for the whole day, and obviously that's not going to cut it. So folks, for a lot of preppers out there who think that they have a full year's worth of food in their food stockpiles, they may actually only have a couple of months worth of food, which means that they may have to triple or quadruple their food stores in order to ensure that they and their family are fed after SHTF. And for you folks who buy your own beans and dried oats and bag it and put it in buckets yourself, you also want to pay close attention to the manufacturer's serving sizes also. For instance, a typical serving size of red beans is about 1/4 cup and has just about 170 calories. And again, if you ate by serving sizes, you'd again only end up with about 500 calories for the whole day if you ate 3 meals a day. So what we as preppers have to know is that after SHTF, calories will be king. So what I do to ensure that my family has enough food to eat after SHTF is that I label my buckets and boxes of food to show the total calories in that whole bucket, along with the serving sizes and stuff like that, etc. Every time that I do up a bucket of dried wheat or whatever for long-term food storage, I will label it so that it shows the contents of the bucket, the total weight of the bucket, the typical serving size of that food, the amount of calories per serving, the amount of servings in that whole bucket, and the big one is the total amount of calories that's in that bucket of food. And I also put on that label when it was packaged and the expected expiration date also. But by doing this, I now actually know how many calories of actual food that I actually have and how far that will carry us. For instance, if a 25-pound bucket of rice has approximately 40,000 calories in that whole bucket, and then if I have 10 buckets of rice, then I know that I have just about 400,000 calories just in rice alone. And then if a 25-pound bucket of dried wheat has approximately 37,000 calories in it, and if I have 10 buckets of it, then I know that I have about 370,000 calories worth of dried wheat just by itself. Now with these cases of dried goods from the LDS home storage center, I will simply write on the outside of the box the total amount of calories that is in that box. And then I'll also write down the amount of calories that's in each number 10 can, that that box contains. So when I go to do my regular inventory of my food preps, this not only allows me to quickly see what each bucket of food, what kind of food that bucket contains, but it also allows me to see how much calories worth of food that bucket also contains. And this really gives me a pretty good accurate answer of how far my food that I got stockpiled will carry my family after SHTF. Right now I have a little bit over 3 million calories worth of food put back for me and my family. And of course this is stored at separate locations. And if my math is correct, that gives me about 2,700 calories per person per day for a full year. And this calorie count does not include the dried milk from the LDS or the sugar I have stockpiled. Now, as you've probably seen in this video, I really try to keep my food stockpiles pretty diversified by having buckets of food that I've put into Mylar bags myself and put into buckets. Plus I also have the food from the LDS home storage center. Plus I have some of those Mountain House freeze-dried foods in the number 10 cans. And then lastly, I also have canned foods that I keep in my stockpiles also. So I only have about 8 cases of that, or about 48 of those number 10 cans from Mountain House. For me, freeze-dried foods are for special occasions after SHTF, because as hard as those times will probably be, you have to admit it would be pretty cool to have lasagna on Christmas after SHTF. But back to where I go to do my regular inventory of my preps, having a large label on that bucket that quickly tells me what kind of food is in that bucket and just how many total calories are in that bucket, that really helps me to be able to really do my inventory in a quick manner. And this also just really helps me to also just quickly add up just how many total calories I have in all of my food added together. Now today's video is actually a remake of a video that I did a couple years ago. And when I originally did this video, Shay with Prepper Logic actually had a very good idea that I would like to share with the community. And his idea was that instead of writing that on the outside of the bucket, putting on the label that it was food, that you would actually put something else on the label of the bucket, such as miscellaneous car parts. And this is so that if an unwanted person sees your food or sees your buckets of food, then they wouldn't immediately know that it was food that they might want to come back for at a later time. So now let's make this video a wealth of information for anybody that views this video. Comment below with some of your biggest tips that you have or that you practice for stockpiling food for SHTF. And what kind of foods do you like to store for SHTF? Do you like the freeze-dried foods, or do you like the long-term storage dried goods, or do you prefer canned goods, or a mixture of all three? And after SHTF, being able to purify your drinking water will mean the difference between life and death. So to learn a cheap and easy way to kill a lot of the bad stuff in your water so that you can make it drinkable after SHTF, then click on the video that should be appearing at the top of the screen just about now to learn more about that. And every prepper should have a good grain mill so that they can grind wheat or corn or coffee beans, etc. So to see a video about a solid grain mill that's much cheaper than its main competitor, then click on the video that should be appearing on the right side of the screen just about now. Anyways folks, if you made it this far, hey, thank you very much for watching, and I pray that you have a good night.